Månelandingen på Mongstad noe vår finansminister har blitt litt mobbet for, men selv om månelandingen for noen år siden ikke ble noe av med karbonfangst, så betyr ikke det at teknologien har blitt liggende i skuffen. Tvert imot, for flere anlegg begynner jo å poppe opp verden rundt, inkludert her i Norge. Og i dag overleverte Northern Lights-samarbeidet da sin søknad om fase 2 av utbyggingen her i Norge til energiminister Terje Aasland. I det vi vel kan si at i hvert fall de norske støttehjulene tas av satsingen, så skal jeg bytte nå til engelsk for å si welcome to our guest, Tim Heijn, head of Northern Lights, on loan from Total, I understand, one of the partners.
Yes, so Northern Lights is indeed a company that is set up by Total Energies, Shell and Equinor, and our mission is to offer transport and storage services of CO2 for industries in Norway and Europe.
Because it's a whole chain now from, at least in the beginning, it was the waste plant Klemetsrud outside of downtown Oslo, the cement plant in Brevik, and then you actually do the shipping and the receiving in Øygarden, and then the actual storage offshore in the North Sea.
Yeah, so phase 1, as you just talked about phase 2, but I'll start with phase 1. Phase 1 has been set up as a demonstration project to show that indeed carbon capture and storage is a viable technology to reduce emissions. So the captures in this case indeed are the cement factory in Heidelberg that will come operational this summer, and then indeed the waste incinerator in Oslo is also taking their decision this year, so we're looking forward to work with them. And then the CO2 is captured from the exhaust gases, it's liquefied on the site of that plant, and then we come with the ships, we load the liquid CO2, we bring it up to Øygarden near Bergen, where we then offload it on our terminal and inject it into a pipeline to 100 kilometers offshore, and then we basically inject it at 2.5 kilometers depth in the Norwegian underground. In phase 1, we also have already signed agreements with two further companies. So Ørsted with their biogenic power plants in Denmark. So we will pick up CO2 there, and then with Yara with a ammonia factory in the Netherlands.
In Sluiskil, yeah.
In Sluiskil, exactly.
Yeah. So talk about, because the first phase was 1.5 million tons a year of storage. Now you're upping that total to 5 million. What does that mean in practice on the ground? Are you ordering more ships to transport? Do you need more wells to store?
Yeah, so indeed the capacity that we built at the system in Øygarden as of today, that is 1.5 million, and that is limited today by the facilities at site, the export pumps, and the number of wells that we have offshore. We built already the pipeline to be able to accommodate 5 million tons per year. So what the phase 2 decision now is indeed to enable and unlock that 5 million tons. We are going to expand the facility, so put some additional storage tanks. We are going to upgrade the export pumps. We're going to build an extra jetty so that we can receive multiple ships at the same time. Then the pipeline is already there. We're going to do a bit of subsea work to expand the network on the seabed, and then we're going to drill 2 wells extra to increase the injection capacity. And then in terms of the shipping, that is going to depend on the companies that we are going to work with. So we of course announced that Stockholm Exergi is our first customer now that supports the phase 2 development, and for that company we will start using probably 3 ships. We're still in the process of the optimization. We are using 7,500 cubic meter ships. We're going to look at bigger versions, so 12.5 and 20,000 cubes, and depending on the route, that kind of can allow us to optimize the costs and make it more efficient. And maybe an interesting number for listeners is to one ship of 7,500 cubic meters that can transport the volume of emissions that is equal to 5,000 cars on the road for 1 year. So that's a nice round number.
Reference to have in the pop quiz on Fridays. But talk about them, because the Stockholm Exergi project, which the Norwegian company Capsol is delivering the technology to Microsoft, signed a contract with them to store CO2, and since it's a bioheat plant, I guess they can subtract CO2 emissions from their own operations at Microsoft. Was the Exergi project in Stockholm a sort of trigger for you to push you over the hurdle to actually be able to say yes to phase 2 now, or?
Yes,
or are you seeing other contracts coming
for
that
sure.
will...
And so Northern Lights has been ready for a while to try to kind of make the next commercial investments and expand the facilities and really kind of step up the capacity that's available in the market. So we have been really trying to work with any customer that is ready to make this to make the investment decision. The investment decisions for the customers take a lot of effort to get into place. The business case is challenging. The logistics of the and the timing of the decisions is challenging. A lot of things need to fall into place. And Stockholm Exergi was one of the companies we've been working with for quite a long time to kind of see if we indeed can align timelines and really take the next step. So with that, indeed, we have now the confidence that we have taken the investment decision. We are in negotiations with more companies, and of course we are trying to make sure that we are selling out the capacity in the near future, so that we can offer that we can maximize the utilization of the asset that we're building.
What's pushing the demand when you talk to potential customers? Obviously, Stockholm Energy is driven by Microsoft, big tech in the US wanting to go climate neutral. Yara wants to sell green or emission-free fertilizer for food production. But other types of customers, is it the ETS price in Europe which is pushing them to look for options?
I think we can. I mean, we can briefly step back and look at what are the value drivers of this industry, and it starts indeed. There's first of all the climate ambitions of countries and Europe on making a change in our emissions and setting targets to reduce emissions. That is then translated to industry and other participants of society to basically set targets, and one of the drivers of making industry move towards reducing emissions is the ETS system. So in Europe, you need to pay for this the tons CO2 you put into the atmosphere, and over time the free credits in that system are getting less. So therefore prices are going up, and companies need to start paying more in the future for emissions. So that's a value driver. Then. To help business to get over, so the ETS system is already collecting significant amounts of money on an annual basis. So that is in parts is kind of small parts of that are returned to industry in terms of funding that can be utilized for starting carbon capture projects, and that is the mechanism is called the Innovation Fund is signing up company. You can apply for grants to start these projects. So currently in the market, the companies that have those fundings and the timeline for those fundings is driving companies to make the decision to start investing. Then the other topic that you mentioned is actually the biogenic carbon credits. So that means that if you are indeed burning wood as a fuel, like in some of the power plants it's happening, or part of the the biomass in a waste incinerator, that doesn't fall under the ETS system, so it is in principle CO2 without a penalty. So if you capture that, you can sell that as a credit to companies like Microsoft, who are interested to offset their historic...
And they want to become carbon negative.
Exactly.
At least they want
to they want to offset their carbon impact, and to do that, they help a company that can create negative credits to fund the project. So that's the value drivers. And then what you also see, and that's more like relevant for example, Heidelberg and other cement producers. There's a green product premium for the fact that you capture the CO2, then you can account that in your cement product, and you can offer to the market a green cement versus a traditional cement, and for that, of course, you can get a certain higher price. Now, the question, of course, is always: is the public, or are companies willing enough to pay high enough a price to enable all of this? But that's the mix of the value drivers today. So,
given your background in Total, talk about sort of the larger picture, because now if you see in Norway you have Harbour Energy, other companies exploring for CCS opportunities on the Norwegian continental shelf. If you look at, let's say, Shell, one of your owners in Northern Lights, they have CCS projects in Quest in Canada, in Gorgon in Australia. What do you have to do in Northern Lights to attract or make your owners be willing to allocate more capital moving forward? Is it just to have a big customer list willing to pay for storage, or...?
No, so all three of our owners, so Total Energies, Shell and Equinor, we all are interested, of course, to be part of the solution and offer some of our transferable skills to industry or to make carbon capture and storage element, make that successful. So we have a driver to play a role in setting up this industry. The fact that we are trying to build commercial business is also, of course, a driver to be able to scale it and make it effective. So that's one of the requirements. So for our companies to continue and pushing that is indeed to make sure that we can deliver a product to the market or a service to the market that we can invest in and that we can really help make a difference. All our owners are, of course, they have several projects, not only in Europe but also in other parts of the world. So one of the big roles of Northern Lights is also to actually really understand and mature the technology and getting experience and transfer some of that knowledge to our owners, but also to other companies and projects that are willing to go to this route. So that's very much in light also of the intent of phase one and the support of the Norwegian government is to stimulate an industry and promote the knowledge transfer so that these kind of projects can be implemented at scale. So we really hope to see many more soon.
I said in Norwegian in my intro that it's like the Norwegian state taking off the support wheels now on the bike for their kids, at least in this round, because they supported you a lot with subsidies in phase one, not anymore. The EU is still, like Equinor is pointing out, putting in here financing equivalent to about 130 million euros. Is that a loan or is it a grant to get this project now up and going? And also, how fast is this business moving towards being able to stand on its own feet without any sort of public assistance? So
the CEF funding, so that is the funding that we have indeed received from the European Union, is very much still part of the kind of the compensation of the cost increases that we've seen over the last couple of years, and the kind of trying to make sure that projects are going to be available for the storage volumes are going to be available for the industry. That is also funded by the Innovation Fund to make the business case work and actually make sure that there is somewhere to go with the CO2. So we were very much reliant on that still. So we're not quite there yet with the business case to make this an independent industry, and that going back to the value drivers that we just discussed, we have not, the prices in the market are not high enough yet to offset the costs of establishing both the capture, the transport and the storage. But we are one step closer, and of course with skill and with experience we hope to kind of make a better market proposition over time, and also we hope to see that the society at large is deciding at what level we want to absorb cost to have products that have less impact on climate.
I saw that Grete Tveit in Equinor wrote that if anyone needs to get rid of their CO2, you know who to call, which was quite a little entertaining to see. But if for those of us who look at this industry from the outside and we look at the ETS price in Europe, which has touched 100 euros last year, I think it was, before it came down a little bit again. What are the levels you need to see over time compared with your costs before this business can become self-sustaining? Are we talking 150, 120?
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult to put the exact number on it, and I will tell you a little bit why. Because ultimately, it all depends on the volume, the volume and the location of the volume. So the more volume you can concentrate in one location, the nearer it is to actual storage sites, the less transportation you need to do, the bigger scale advantage you can create. Then maybe 150 is enough. If you look at a small point source where there's no infrastructure, for which you need to use small ships and you need to sail a long distance, maybe you need 250. So it is a little bit it depends type of question.
So if you're in the harbor in Rotterdam or Esbjerg again, you've got 5 million tons to spare every year, you're probably going to get a better deal than someone else. Yeah,
and that's also the trend that we now now see, of course, in Europe, we're trying to create hubs. So, of course, Rotterdam is a hub area. Port of Antwerp is a hub area. You have further down south in France, we're trying to create hubs. In Germany, which is generally most industry is landlocked, there's efforts to try to connect it either to the Rotterdam or Antwerp terminals or build something in the north of Germany. So you will start seeing these kind of things. And then the recent projects that were with state support were approved in the UK. They also are very much cluster projects around industrial sites where you link up multiple businesses and try to make the decision at the same time to create scale. Yeah.
Tim Heijn, CEO of Northern Lights, thank you so much. And we're looking forward to, I guess there will be a ribbon ceremony in 2028 when you open phase 2, yeah?
And then we are handing in phase 3.
For å se mer, klikk deg inn på FA.no/TV, eller se oss på storskjerm når du vil ved å søke opp Finansavisen på din Apple TV.